Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another video. We're going to be doing more math and we're going to be doing some equations that are slightly different to the one-step and two-step. There's maybe some fractions involved, maybe some other stuff involved. I'll take you through how to do those. Now, before we start, what do you tell someone who has a fear of hurdles? Tell them to get over it. Get over it, buddy. Okay. I'm so done. Let's start. Okay. Now, there's not much teaching here for me to do. There's not a lot of notes I have to write. The best way for me to show you is probably through some examples. Okay, so let me show you what happens when we're solving equations with fractions. Okay. I'm going to take my time here because I want to make sure that you guys get it. And I want to make sure that you guys get it well. Okay, so the first one, we have x over 4. We're looking at this one. Question A, x over 4 equals to 3 over 5. Now, there's fractions, but we should not let fractions freak us out, and we should not do anything more than the question kind of asks us to do. Now, remember, when you're solving equations, your goal is to find x. What I mean by that is get it on its own. Okay, that's what you're trying to do. Nothing else matters. You just want the x. So here I've got x over 4 equals 3 on 5. X is almost by itself. I just have to deal with this over 4. Now, what is a fraction? A fraction is simply the top number divided by the bottom number. So if I took, for example, the example of half, right? Everyone is quite familiar with a half, but if you think of it this way, it's actually 1 divided by 2. It's the top number divided by the bottom number. So if I take a whole and divide it into 2 parts, it now becomes a half, right? So it's the same concept. So if I'm looking here, I've got x over 4. It's actually the same thing as x divided by 4. We just write it as a fraction. So what I'm going to do here is, remember, we're going to do opposite operations. So if this side here is x divided by 4, I want to think, you know what, I want to do the opposite. So what's the opposite of divide, you ask? Let me tell you, it's multiply. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 4 to both sides. And I'm going to multiply 4 like this. Now, the beauty of having, if I divide something by 4 and then times it by 4, it's almost as if the same as if I did nothing. Okay, so that's going to leave me with x. And then on the right-hand side here, I just have 3 on 5 multiplied by 4. You can put this in the calculator, or I know that it's just going to be 4 over 1. So I'm just going to go top by top. So 3 times 4 is 12. And 5 times 1 is 5. And I'm happy to leave my answer like this because I found x. All right, don't take it any further than that. Okay, now in this next question here, we have a fraction as well, but it looks slightly different. The first thing I need to deal with is this guy down here, that 3, okay? Because it's huge and it's stopping me from dealing with this x, which I want to get to. So again, this just means it's 2x plus 1, that whole thing, and then I'm dividing that whole thing by, hopefully you said it, 3. Okay, so opposite of divide by 3 is times 3. Now, if I don't just times it to one side, I also have to times it to the other side. I'll keep going in that blue. That was a nice blue, isn't it? So again, divide by 3 times by 3, they cancel out. So it's almost as if that cancels out and nothing happens. But on the right-hand side now, I've got minus 1 times 3. I actually know that that's going to be negative 3. Now, let's solve as if we solve usually. I'm going to work my way towards finding this x here. So first things first, I'm going to minus that 1. Now be careful here. That's going to leave me with 2x, and minus 3 minus 1 becomes negative 4. Okay, don't forget how you work with your positives and negatives. And then here we've got 2x equals to negative 4. So that's 2 times x. So the opposite of times would be divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And that's going to cancel out with that, leaving me with just x. And then I've got negative 4 divided by 2 -2. And I like to square off or circle my answers. So even though you've done all this working out that kind of looks a bit messy, you've got a clean answer. All right. Now, one last one, if we have a fraction equation that looks like this, okay? Whenever you've got a fraction out the front of a bracket, that's going to make your life difficult. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the fraction very, very early on. So you see how it's like 2 divided by 5? I'm going to times that 5 immediately. So times by 5 here, times by 5 on the other side. Okay, now all of this is kind of clumped together, so I just need to times that by 5 once. So it's just going to cancel out here. So it's going to leave me that 2 still stays there. That doesn't go anywhere. The x minus 3 kind of follows along. And then on the right-hand side, we have 4 times 5. That gives us 20. Okay, now we've got this. Let's be smart about it here. There's 2 ways. We could go expand it and bring it out, but I'm going to take a little shortcut here. This is the same thing as 2 times. So what's the opposite of times? I'm just going to divide everything by 2. So let's go divide by 2, divide by 2. All right, and so times 2 divided by 2 cancel out, leaves me with x minus 3, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. Now we're almost there. We've got x minus 3, so we're going to plus 3 to both sides. X equals to 13. Okay. Hopefully so far so good. That's what happens when you have some fractions. Now, you're also going to see some equations with unknowns on both sides. Now for this one here, it's always difficult if you've got x's on both sides because, or an unknown on both sides, because here in all these questions, it was only on one side. So we're just going to use a little bit of logic here. What do you think we might do? Let's just move the x's together. Now, the one thing you will have to think about, will it be easier for me to move that 3 and minus kind of 3x and put it over that side, or would it be easier if I minus the 2x and put it on this side? So I want to mush them together, but it's one of them is going to make my life a little bit easier. So my general rule of thumb is I'm going to stick it on whichever side is going to make it positive. All right. So in my mind, I need to get that positive 2x, and I'm going to minus it over to the left-hand side, because if I did the other way around, if I did 2 take away 3, I'd get a negative x, and then there's just a little bit more mess. Okay, so I'm going to pick the side that has more x's. So in other words, the 3x, because it's bigger, and I'm going to move everything to that side. That's going to be my hint. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to minus 2x to both sides. And let's line up our equal signs, and let's just do this. So let's take a look. 3x take away 2x. Now I'm just left with 1 lot of x. Now that minus 1 kind of follows through because I haven't touched that yet. 2x minus 2x should be 0. And then I'm left with this plus 7. Now if you take a look here, this becomes a lot easier to solve. I've got x almost by itself. It's not on both sides. And so all I need to do is solve for x. So I've got to deal with this minus 1. Opposite of minus 1 is plus 1. So I've got x equals to positive 7 plus 1. That just is going to give me positive 8. Boom. There's my answer. Okay, now just in case you guys were not really tracking here, let's take a look. Now this time I've got 3x and 2x, but on the right-hand side, we're going to have positive 2x, and on the left-hand side, we actually have negative 3x. So the side that has the more x's is actually the right-hand side. Even though the bigger numbers on the left, on the right-hand side, it's positive. On the left-hand side, it's negative. So what I want to do is I'm going to push it all over to the right-hand side. So instead of minusing 2x this time, we're actually going to plus 3x to both sides. Okay. So if we plus 3x to both sides, let's take a look here. We actually got, let's take a look here. First thing is that becomes nothing. Minus 3x plus 3x, It's like saying, I'll give you $5 and then I take it back, right? It disappears. Now I'm still left with 7, so 7 stays there. Now I've got 3x plus 2x, that becomes 5x. I'm going to write it right underneath. And I've got this minus 4 and haven't done anything there, so I'm going to bring that down. Don't forget it. And now I'm solving for x. Don't freak out because now the x is on the right-hand side. It's the same stuff. I'm still trying to find x. So it's this plus 4 that I've got to deal with. Okay, so I'm plussing 4 to both sides. That's going to cancel. It leaves me with 5x. 7 plus 4 is 11. And then all I need to do is divide both sides by 5. I'm going to divide it by using the fraction kind of thing. So I'm going to cross out that. That leaves me with just a singular x, and then 11 on 5. You can just write that as 11 on 5. Whew. All right, that's it. So if we've got x's on both sides, that's how we deal with it. Now, do I have one more? Oh, okay. This is the last one. Slightly more challenging, but I do want to show you how to do it. You will have worded questions, and the hardest part is changing a worded question into an equation, but let me show you how we do this. So we're trying to find what the number is. 3 more than 4 times a number is 22. All right. In the past, you guys would have sat there and been like, I'm going to guess and check until I get the answer. All right. Let me tell you, it's going to take a little bit of time here because it's not a clean answer. So let's highlight a couple things. A number immediately, that's going to become an unknown. Okay. So that becomes x. Okay. Or a or b or some number that you choose. But if you don't know what it is, I want you to put a letter to replace it. Okay. Now I'm just going to break down this language. If I say 3 more, how do I make that sound mathematical? It kind of means 3 plus. Right? 3 more is plus 3, 3 plus. Let's say plus 3 in this case. It's 3 more plus 3. Now, if I take a look here, 4 times a number, that's just 4x. Okay. 4 times is 4 multiplied by x, and then 4 times x is just 4x. Now, this keyword here is a fancy word for equals. And then we've got 22. So almost as it's written, we kind of have our equation. Let me write it out how I would. And let's take a look here. 3 more than 4 times a number is 22. So in other words, 4 times a number, 4x plus 3 should equal to 22. Okay, now at this point here, that's an equation we can solve. So let's minus 3 to both sides, minus 3, minus 3. 4x should equal to 19, right? Because that cancels out. 22 minus 3 is 19. And then here I'm just dividing both sides by 4. Got no idea what that is. So I'm just going to put it 19 divided by 4 as a fraction, canceling out with the 4 on the left-hand side. Hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully that's all good. Enjoy math and see you guys later. All right, bye-bye.